This is the Wrestling Replay. I am Cato. Welcome to episode number 19. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button and make sure your notifications are turned on. And if you are a repeat viewer, you already done that, right? Now, this is AEW's Fyter Fest Week 1 edition of the Wrestling Replay. We're going to start off with AEW Dynamite. Really good episode of Dynamite. Really good week, honestly, for AEW as a whole. Let's be honest. Now, Dynamite kicks off with Wardlow defending his title against Orange Cassidy. Now, this was a good matchup. It was very entertaining. I'm going to say that. It was a very entertaining matchup between Wardlow and Orange Cassidy. I like all of the comedy inside the matchup. I like the action inside the matchup. I like to see a side of Wardlow showing his agility inside the matchup. All great things. One thing that I would think that AEW would have done is have Wardlow in his first title defense go against a heel. Go against someone where Wardlow will get all the rub. He will get all the fan favoritism, all the cheers and everything, all the accolades that he needs in his first title defense. I'm surprised they went with someone like Orange Cassidy. Why? Because Orange Cassidy is a huge fan favorite. People love Orange Cassidy, and it showed inside the matchup. Wardlow was actually booed inside of this matchup when the beginning of the matchup where he ripped Orange Cassidy pockets off his pants. It was funny, but at the same time, the crowd began to boo Wardlow. Now, Wardlow is still a young superstar, so what if he's not getting booed too well when he's supposed to be a face? What if he accidentally does something in reaction to getting booed because he's never been in that situation before? Luckily, he didn't, and he had good poise, and then he got right back on the track, so that was no issue. But at the same time, it just showed that Orange Cassidy was the bigger face of the two inside this matchup. So I think they really have to be careful with how they book Wardlow. I know they like to, put the best matches they could possibly put together, but I would have loved to see Wardlow come out, go against a heel, dominate the heel in about 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, everything about him, you give him it's like Goldberg. Everything about him says Bill Goldberg. I'm sorry. Before the matchup, you show Wardlow walking around in the back. Same thing they would do with Bill Goldberg. You watch him walk from the back to the curtain. The same exact thing they did. So if you're going to switch it up or at least make it a little bit different some way, that would be very, helpful. I would thank you a lot if you did do that so that we did not get reminded of a whole different superstar from 20, 30 years ago when we see a great talent like Wardlow coming down to the ring. Either way, I would just like them to really have booked him against a heel inside his first couple of matchups that he dominated. Another thing, Wardlow has to stop, especially against a face with the pin with your foot on the chest. It's so cocky to be a baby face and pin someone with just a foot on the chest. I understand if you do it against a lower level heel that you go out there and completely just smash, but winning your title that way or defeating a super baby face that way, any face that way, or even going for a pin attempt like that in that situation is really cocky, and that's not something of the face that they're trying to make Wardlow out to be. Other than that, really great start to Fyter Fest. I like the fact that you start off with your champion. I think that was a great idea. Now, we got to see Jon Moxley. He defeated Takeshita. This is a young guy that they are constantly trying to push, but they don't let him ever win. I mean, every time he's on Dynamite, every time he's on Rampage, I can remember he's in there with great talent, but he's losing. When it's on AEW Dark, it's a different situation, but how many people are really watching AEW Dark? We clearly see you want to push the young man to the moon, so let him just notch some wins against lower level guys, whether it's heel or face. You clearly don't mind meshing them up with either one. Let him actually start to notch together some wins. This was one of those matches where it was hard to get into because you kind of just knew where it was going. It was kind of like you got this young guy who don't have any wins, but yet you're putting him in a matchup with your interim AEW champion. I don't really get it. Even though the champion's a face, it still kind of made no sense to me. We got to see Luchasaurus. He comes out. I love what's happening with him and Christian Cage. I say that every week that they have made the switch, the heel turn. Now in the all black. Absolutely love it. He came out. He destroyed Garrison for looking like Jungle Boy. So the match wasn't the best, but I think it did what it needed to do, where he came out, he dominated like he was supposed to. We also got to see Claudio defeat Jack Hager. This was a really good matchup. One thing I think they did a great job of on AEW Dynamite this week, actually all week on Dynamite and Rampage, was they allotted the time needed for each match that was necessary. For that Wardlow and Orange Cassidy match, it was a perfect amount of time for them to actually get the crowd invested, to get the crowd warmed up for what's going to happen next on AEW Dynamite. Jon Moxley, his match brought great energy. It kept it right where it needed to be. Luchasaurus, he came and squashed, kind of like brought the crowd back down a little bit before it gave you this match between Claudio and Jack Hager. Really good matchup. Claudio managed to get the win there. I really want to know what they're going to do with Claudio next. I feel like he's kind of taking on all the beef or all the wrestlers that Danielson will be taking on right now. We see the situation with him and Eddie Kingston's kind of slowly boiling over. Eddie still has some work to do with Chris Jericho. Later on Rampage, we're going to talk about Claudio popping up again against a certain wrestler. So I feel like he's kind of taking that place of Danielson. I feel like he's going to end up being that workhorse wrestler inside of the fashion. Now, we also seen Serena Deeb. She defeated Anna Jay. Anna Jay looked really good. This was a really great matchup. Now, after the matchup is where things really picked up. When Serena Deeb, kept the beat down on Anna Jay going. When she was confronted by Martinez, who kind of stopped everything, helped Anna Jay to her feet. So getting in the matchup with Martinez and Serena Deeb, possibly for that championship, I kind of like what's going on there. I really like what's going on there. Now, we also seen the three-way dance. Oh my God. This was probably the shocker of the week, where I couldn't fathom the Young Bucks losing this matchup. Young Bucks, AEW Tag Team Championships, Swerve Strickland, Keith Lee, also taking on Team Taz, Big Will Hobbs, and Ricky Starks. This matchup was perfect. I have no quarrels about this matchup. Every man was able to go in there and show a little bit more of what they could do. I mean, Keith Lee showed you that he's that agile, powerful big man. Swerve Strickland showed you that speed, that agility. That was on full display. The Young Bucks was the Young Bucks, of course. More so importantly, I was really impressed by Will Hobbs. I think Will Hobbs in this matchup really got to show you things that he could do. It really showed you the powerhouse he was, hitting that big spine buster on Keith Lee, then slamming everybody on top of Keith Lee. After that, they came into the ring. That's the dominant, powerful Will Hobbs I would like to see week in and week out. That's the type of Will Hobbs I could see in a singles competition and really starting to run through opponents. That's the one I want to see go against Wardlow. That's like the big heel I would love to see Wardlow go against. Win or lose, that's the powerhouse Hobbs that I want to see, and that's who I had in mind when I first seen him on AEW. When he first turned heel and went to Team Taz, I said, great, this is what we're going to get. It took a while, but we're finally there. This tag team matchup was amazing. Every aspect, from you not knowing who was going to win. Definitely didn't think that Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee would be coming out with the tag team champions. My only question is, why didn't we get FTR and the Young Bucks? We got all the titles with FTR. Granted, they're going to take on the Briscoes again with those RE tag team titles on the line. Now, this is a situation where FTR is going to lose to the Briscoes and the Briscoes retain or get their titles back. Then I could kind of see why we slow rolled it a little bit. But if that's not the case, why didn't we get the Young Bucks and FTR, two of the best tag teams in the business, in a mega matchup for all the championships, for all the gold? Granted, I think at that point we would kind of know FTR will win, but I think that would be a huge matchup. I don't know if it's something where they missed it and missed out on it. I don't know if it's something where a little bit more is going on behind the scenes, but I think as the weeks go on, I think it's going to actually tell us the story of exactly why things happened the way they happened. Now, we also got to see, more importantly for me, that was the main event, amazing main event, biggest surprise of the week of wrestling to me. But let's talk about Chris Jericho. Let's talk about how Paul Heyman went out there and sold that matchup with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Even if you feel like I've seen this matchup before, I don't really care to see it again. Paul Heyman kind of made you like, you know what, maybe I'll watch it. It is the last one. I'll go ahead and tune in. And I think Chris Jericho did a great job of that himself, hyping up his match with Eddie Kingston and a barbed wire everywhere matchup. My only issue is, let me finish giving praise to the amazing Chris Jericho that he is. We're going to get the Painmaker, who was undefeated, against Eddie Kingston. That's interesting, because now I feel like you just raised the stakes a little bit. Jericho bringing out the Painmaker gimmick he used before when he wanted to take things to the next level, right? I think that's going to turn up the intensity inside this matchup. I would not be surprised if after that matchup, we don't see neither one of those guys in action for the next couple of weeks, because I think it may be that brutal of a match. Chris Jericho able to add a little more spice to the matchup, add a little more spice to the storyline. This should cap off the feud between Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. And if it doesn't cap it off, this is going to be a feud that goes on constantly, not every week or something like that, but it's going to be a feud that's constantly revisited, maybe every 6, 7, 8 months down the road between these two guys until one of these guys retire. I guarantee it. It's going to be entertaining as hell every time it happens, but I guarantee it will be a feud if this isn't the time that we actually end the rivalry between Jericho and Kingston. This is going to be a feud that's going to take place until one of these guys decide to go. Now, why are we getting a barbed wire everywhere matchup? I understand it's Fyter Fest week 2, but it's still AEW Dynamite, it's still TNT. We just got to see the blood and guts match on Dynamite. I feel like it's a situation where you're giving us too much too fast. I feel like that's a matchup that you should have on a pay-per-view. I feel like that's a matchup you should have right before your main event, or a match to kick off the show to really show you what type of pay-per-view we're going to have. But you're giving it to us on Dynamite. Now, I'm not the one to complain about getting something for free, but at the same time, a matchup of that quality, I would think a matchup of that importance, I would think it's just a pay-per-view style matchup. Perfect. Me personally. But next week when that match takes place, it's going to be really, really good. Can't wait for that. Now let's get into AEW Rampage. We got to see the House of Black. They was in a tag team matchup against the Dark Order, House of Black, Malachi Black, and Brody King. And this is my gripe again, because I just seen Brody King in a matchup with the AEW World Champion. Now I'm watching you in a matchup with the Dark Order. It's like he had no build going into that AEW matchup. He fought a great matchup. Now, instead of capitalizing on that momentum of, even though it's a loss to the champion, it's still some momentum. Instead of capitalize on that, you kind of bring us back down and have Malachi Black and Brody King defeat the likes of the Dark Order. Dark Order is somebody that you haven't been pushing in a while. I can't even think of the last time these guys had a win in the Dark Order. But if we're not going to get to like Adam Page and somebody like that in a matchup with the House of Black, I don't understand what direction you really having the House of Black go in. And also, where's all the members? I feel like it's only been Malachi Black and Brody King for a while now, like at least the past couple of weeks. Where everybody else at, man? But we got to see Jonathan Gresham. He defeated Lee Moriarty. Really good matchup. I think it really showed who Jonathan Gresham is. It really was a great introduction to just his style of wrestling, the type of wrestler that he is to the world, to the ones who may not know who he is. So after the matchup is where things really picked up again, because we got to see Claudio. He comes out. He kind of looks at Jonathan Gresham after Jonathan said Jonathan says, I'm pretty much the greatest wrestler in the world. I am the best technical wrestler there is. So it looks like we're going to get a matchup between Claudio and Jonathan Gresham, which would be an amazing matchup. But really the matchup I want to see, the matchup I've been lobbying for since ROH, since before ROH and AEW even started this partnership or whatever this deal is that they kind of got, is Danielson and Jonathan Gresham. That's going to be one of the best technical matchups probably this decade, to be honest. Two of the best technical wrestlers that's in the business today, so I cannot wait for that to happen. Now, we also got to see Statlander and Athena. They went against the Renegade twins. Decent matchup. I prefer, I don't know. It's alright. It was an okay matchup. More importantly, Athena, Chris, Statlander got the win, but we got to see Kiera Hogan and Jade run down and attack the winners. Really, it's just a nice slow build to either Athena or Chris Statlander getting the chance to face Jade for that TBS championship. I don't know who will be the ones to actually dethrone Jade with the TBS championship, because I feel like you're not really putting some of your top female wrestlers in the match against her. When I say that, I love Chris Statlander. I love what she can do. I know Athena. We know who she is. Great star power. Amazing inside the ring. But I feel like these two women haven't really been notching the big victories, the big single victories that they need before you go in and go against the champion and take the championship. Like Thunder Rosa, before she went against Britt Baker, was notching big wins under her belt, especially the matchup with Serena Deeb. So her going into the matchup with Britt Baker, it made sense that she was able to walk out of there with that women's championship. She was just wrestling on a different level. But we need some big wins from Chris Statlander and from Athena if we're going to believe that she's going to go in there and defeat Jade, who is possibly your number one female wrestler right now. Not as far as talent, but as far as star power, as far as a draw, she might be the biggest. So I don't know if you're going to go in there and really dethrone her by just two women just going at it with her. So I don't know. Now, our final match to talk about is the Lucha Bros against Private Party, a team that I have not seen in forever on TNT or TBS. One of the best young tag teams, honestly, at this point. If you're not going to use them, I really wish they just go to NXT. I think they would fit great inside NXT. Those two guys, their style would mesh perfectly over there right now with what they're doing, to be honest. But still a really good matchup against the Lucha Bros. It was something you knew what you're going to get anyway, but I feel like this is just the Lucha Bros kind of getting right back on track. Hopefully Andrade and his injury will be healed up pretty soon. I think it's inflammation in his ankle, so nothing too serious. But if we get him and his partner Rush back, and then we get that matchup between these guys and the Lucha Bros, that's going to be a very huge tag team matchup. AEW has some of the best tag team wrestling today, period. It's to the point that they can't even get all of their tag teams on TV, which is what I'm talking about with Private Party. Sucky situation, but at the same time, hey, if you want to be where the best tag team wrestling is, you kind of stay put. If you want to really get some burn, you could possibly go to NXT. I think you would put on an amazing show over there. I think you have some really good tag teams over there that you would mesh well with, and I think these guys will become NXT tag team champions. Now, the only issue is I think they would have to change their gimmick because it's too much like the Street Profits. So they would have to come with a different flavor or a different style. But I could see these guys being a major part of that tag team division in the WWE if AEW aren't going to start giving these guys some push or some type of burn. But for me, man, the real big takeaway is the Lucha Bros against Rush and Andrade. That's the matchup I want to see. That's the matchup everybody's waiting for. Give it to us already. But I wouldn't be surprised if that managed to take place at the next AEW pay-per-view. But that was everything for AEW Fyter Fest week one, I should say. Next week we'll jump into week 2. We'll be doing 3 videos next week, guys. Monday Night Raw, AEW Dynamite, and then SmackDown and Rampage at the same time. So it'll be a little different than this week, where I gave you WWE, and then I gave you AEW. But since I did it so late in the week, I was able to do that since all shows had already come on. I was able to watch everything. But starting next week, the videos are going to be a little bit different. You're going to be able to watch pretty much whatever show you want to see or hear me talk about. That's the show. Whatever one you want to comment on, that'll be the one you can go in there and actually watch, and then, we can have fun from there. So if you're not doing so already, please make sure you're following us at The Wrestling Replay on Instagram. That's where all our contests and giveaways will take place. We'll talk about it here, of course, but over there is where you're going to more likely be able to enter and win whatever we're giving away at the time. All right. That's everything from AEW Fyter Fest. A great week one, to be honest. Really great, even though I have a little bit of gripes here and there. Really great week. Really can't complain too much. I think so far AEW, as far as wrestling and shows, because their storylines have been amazing, and storylines that I'm really invested in, has been kicking WWE's ass in the past 2 weeks, to be honest. So WWE better pick it up. They going PG-14. Last time that happened, a company went out of business. I'm gonna just say that much. But I don't think it's really direct competition between AEW and WWE, to be honest, to really be fair. AEW has their core fan base that only watch AEW. WWE has their core fan base that only watch WWE. And then you have those midst in between guys like myself who watch AEW and WWE, and neither number is really going down or really plateauing, or everything's kind of like plateaued already. You might get a huge spike here and there when you have an announcement or a comeback or a superstar making his surprise entry or something like that, or WrestleMania week and SummerSlam or Royal Rumble, those big events. You might get just spikes in viewership. But honestly, man, I feel like everything's plateaued. Between Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, and Dynamite, they're all plateaued, man. You all got your viewers. We are who we are. Whatever. Enjoy wrestling, man. But I'm Cato, man. I'm signing out for the week. It's been fun. See you guys next week, episode 2021. All right? Peace.